Let's take a closer look at the issue with hearts now, turning now to an issue that has stirred a lot of controversy in the medical community that will affect you as a healthcare consumer. The American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association have just released new guidelines for the management of cholesterol and the assessment of heart risks. The guidelines have raised some questions for many, including Dr. Oz. Morgan, some of this stuff is kind of confusing.
It's true, John. Thanks so much. It really is very confusing. And at the heart of the controversy, a new risk calculator and the recommendation for people to start taking statins. Now, the calculator assesses your risk of cardiovascular disease by including factors like age, race, and gender. But the way those factors are weighted has the potential of doubling the number of Americans taking cholesterol-lowering statins. Now, what's most shocking about this, that number includes more than 45 million Americans who don't currently have cardiovascular disease. Dr. Oz, among others, advocates recognizing all your risk factors and then talking to your doctor about how to reduce each one of them. He also advocates tracking changes in cholesterol levels, something the guidelines don't mention.
That's important to keep a close eye on those cholesterol levels. Nick, it's confusing with good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. What was your take on this new information?
Well, I do think that the real concern here is whether these guidelines are going to be pushing more statins. They have the effect of, as Morgan said, doubling the number of people who could be on statins if the cardiologists are following the guidelines. And the question is popping a pill really the best way to deal with heart disease, or should we be pushing things like diet and exercise and stress management? That's really the issue. The two numbers you need to keep in mind are the LDL, that's the bad cholesterol, needs to be under 100. Your HDL, that's the good cholesterol, needs to be over 50. And you can manage those through diet and exercise, and for those who need it, the statins as well. But that's the concern, is that the weight here, the heart of the controversy, as Morgan says, is that it's really pushing pills over other lifestyle factors that should be taken into consideration.
Now, my understanding is the new guidelines actually don't ask you they don't take into your cholesterol levels anymore, not your number.
They will measure them as part of a larger analysis, but what they do is the risk calculator that indicates where you are in the danger zone is based on outmoded information and inaccurate information that is as much as 20 years old. So where those numbers indicate you should be on a statin are really in question.
Dr. Oz, guys, is a very popular medical expert with our audience and in the whole country as well. And you know, if he's going to get behind something, he's done his research because he understands the implications of weighing in on a specific issue like this. But it also seems like there's more and more evidence here that the philosophy of better living through chemistry no longer applies.
Right.
Well, he's a holistic guy, you know. And many doctors look at the big picture, and that's really what most doctors should do. As a patient, what does that mean for you? You really need to be talking to your doctor about what are my risk factors, how can I address each one of them, not one particular one, not cholesterol only, or not diet only, and that's really what Dr. Oz is about.
Now, I know he said you should really monitor your change in cholesterol levels. Is this something you can do at home, or do you have to keep going to the doctor for this?
You really need the blood test. Many tests, the tests are just a snapshot of what it is today. Think about your weight. You get on the scale today, it may be a certain level, but you really need to look at what is it tomorrow, next week, the week after, what was it a month ago. That's where you can really tell whether your diet plan or your fitness plan is working. The same is true with cholesterol. The blood tests need to be done over time, and that trend line needs to be examined.
Go ahead, Morgan. I'm sorry.
What about other things you can do? You know, we did talk a little bit about lifestyle factors. What about things that are in your control, like stopping smoking, exercising more, eating better? What are the most important things that you can do to take charge of your health?
Those are key. You know, it's really not very sexy advice, but the truth is you have to move more and eat less for most Americans. Eat a diet that's whole, has a lot of whole grains, a lot of fruits and vegetables. Get 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise a day, and do something to deal with your stress levels. We all deal with stress. You need to figure out how to deal with that.
Yeah, and as we look at this, again, it goes back to the simple fact that you need to exercise more, eat less, and live an active lifestyle. We wish we could hold ourselves out as some sort of, revolutionaries on medicine, but it basically gets down to that.
If you could just pop a pill and make it all go away, that'd be great, but it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
You know, as the evidence mounts here, do you guys see attitudes changing in the American public? Well, people will go to their doctor and say, don't give me a pill. What can I do to make my life better?
I think that's changing. I do. I mean, holistic approaches are becoming much more common. You know, there's so much more research about side effects. And, I'm curious, are there any long-term studies? The lower your age that you start taking statins, are you more likely to get risk factors? If you start taking it, say, at 40 rather than 50 or 60, what are we looking at long-term? And I don't know if that's been looked into, but it's something we should really think about.
It's really an experiment that society is undergoing right now of those long-term risk factors. But I think you're absolutely right. I think that's why we see the new interest in alternative medicine. People want to know, what can I do to take charge of my own health? I think that's a positive trend.